Hello and welcome, I am Raziel, and so let's talk about toxicity within the wargaming environment in general, like the whole big hobby that is wargaming, which includes all the games and just everything in general. And you kind of realise it really doesn't exist. It's probably the most non-toxic hobby you could get into. And obviously I kind of try and work out why this is. It's just the way my brain works. Like, why is the wargaming community so non-toxic? And even if you break it down to certain games and companies, the majority, almost all of them, are absolutely non-toxic. They are great communities to be part of. They're friendly, they're helpful, they're nice. You rarely get any bitterness or nastiness. And when people talk about armies and the lore and everything to go with it, the conversation always flows nicely. You never feel like you've been put down for your opinion. Yeah, we like different armies, we like different factions, we all play differently. I don't think there's two people in the world who, in the wargaming sphere, who play exactly the same. They may be very similar, but there's always these differences which makes their games uniquely theirs. I know, if I say basically, a very simplified version, I make fast armies. I always have made fast armies. My Warrior Nations army, which is now finished, is a very fast army. It's got 7 flyers, 7 flyers, 2 massive big beasts. Well, actually 4, because 2 of them are the Great Eagles and Thunderbird, and these are big models. And we have wolves and werewolves. So everything in my army is designed around being hitting hard, hitting fast, and getting away. That's my style of play, and it's always been my style of play. And just that's just me. And I know other people might like to play a slow, methodical army, not one that charges in and just does damage. Each to their own. And you talk about the style of play and games you play, and you have these fun stories you tell about these games, and you have a good conversation. You have an enjoyable discussion about something you both love, and you tend to get on well. Like I said, I rarely see in the wargaming sphere people really losing their heads about the game, and it is rare. It tends to be only in one community. Yes, we all know which community that is, and yes, we all know. And I was trying to work out why. First, my brain went to, it's a bigger community. There's a lot more people in it. So the chances of, people being more mean or cruel to each other does go up. Then I again looked at all the other communities that I'm part of and actually did the maths on this. The percentage difference between the Games Workshop and Warhammer community, toxic, let's say not, these, comments which are very negative compared to everyone else, is vastly different. It's obviously been such a problem with the negativity that Games Workshop gets that they started blocking people on Twitter. I know this because I'm actually one of those people blocked on Twitter because I said they weren't the best. I also said they were the best at getting brown-nosing shills, which is pretty much what they're best at. So they start blocking people for negative comments, which means there is a percentage which is big enough to cause them to want to silence these dissenters. And I don't even have that many followers on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, right? Because I don't tend to follow people, I just tend to get into discussions. And, if someone follows me, they follow me. They don't. I don't really care. So it couldn't be because of my follow count. It was just had to be because I said they weren't the best. So if your percentage of your customer base is so negative about you to a point where you have to silence them because they will draw more negative attention to your company, i.e. cause you lose more money, there has to be an issue there. That's where the issue has to start. So then I went into these other hobbies like comics, sci-fi, fantasy, like in general, and video games. And then I started seeing the same thing. So, in general, the video game hobby is very, very placid. It's not a toxic community at all. It's actually quite calm. But when it comes to certain games, the toxicity level rises really quickly. And then I would look at the games. So I was thinking, okay, so obviously there is a correlation between these two. And then I realised what it was. These games, and everyone who has a big name and is getting constantly slated for poor products, that's when it starts. That's when the toxicity really starts. I'm just going to use the word toxicity because it kind of fits. When the product goes down, the toxicity starts. And it's never started for the reasons that we're told. It's never the reasons. It's literally always gaslit to us. You'll say, this product's bad, and then you get called something. And of course, when you get called something you're not, your back goes up and you wish to defend yourself. An argument occurs, I should say, not accuses. And so the toxicity is being inbred because people cannot vent their disdain for a poor quality product. And I have talked about quality so many times because I deem it so important. So then I went back to these other gaming communities, and there's a lot of praise. There's a lot of adoration towards these games. I very rarely see anyone putting Kings of War down as a game I've seen them put down the models, which is fair, but I've never actually seen anyone really badmouth the game. Wild West Exodus, the only real complaint I've seen is it's not better than some older games. But when they say that, they never go, this game's rubbish because, the other ones were so much better. It's like, look, they made some changes I didn't like, the game's still good, but I still prefer the old one. They've not actually said the new version's rubbish. It's like, it's a good game, I like it, I just prefer the older one. Which is not the same. Whereas, when you talk about Games Workshop, when people go, God, Games Workshop's gone downhill, the quality's not as good, it's really to the point where it's not as good as when people did enjoy playing it, when it was fantastic, and when there's other opportunities and different games to play who are doing this sort of stuff to a level Games Workshop hasn't been in decades, and I wish I didn't have to use the term decades and could just use years. Yeah, that's when we kind of start having problems, because they want to keep this idea up that they are the best, whereas every other company's like, we make good games, come play our games. And when you go into the communities and you talk about the games, you find a community which is enjoyable, it's fun to be part of, everyone has fun talking about their favourite game and all that nonsense, but there is criticisms, but it's rarely so severe that it's, this is just rubbish, just a bad game. And then you go to, Games Workshop, then you start seeing discussions which aren't about the game, aren't about the lore, aren't about the setting. And that's when more problems arise, because people who have gone into this community have gone into the community because of the game, of the lore, of the setting. This includes video games, comics, all these other hobbies. When the conversation starts to change within the community, which is no longer centered on what you're enjoying, it becomes incredibly divisive. Whereas when a game company or game group or community focuses solely on their product, that the War Cradle Discord literally has a rule saying, do not talk about other games here, or third-party products, where, you're here to talk about our games, which is absolutely fine. I have no issues with that. That's a fine rule to have, because it set the guideline like, you're here for our games, talk about our games. So it sets a point where there's no division, because you're talking about something you enjoy. But when these other conversations start entering, it doesn't matter what it's about, but because it's not about the lore and setting and game you enjoy, you're going to get division, because you're going to have opinions which are outside the game, which are going to be different, and so vastly different, there is no intermediary. And there lies the problems. And again, if you go to these other communities, you'll see them only solely talk about their games. That's all you'll see them talk about. There is nothing else. Whereas if you go into the Warhammer ones, you start seeing conversations which aren't really Warhammer related, except tangentially, very stretching that word, attached. And that's what needs to kind of stop. I'm not saying don't talk about these things. I'm just saying it's not the subject at hand. You're there to talk about the game, and you want to put your opinion in about the law. Expect some blowback if it's such a thing that everyone hates. Don't go in there going, I don't like this and this needs to change. Go, hey, what about this? And when you get blowback and reasons within the setting on why it cannot happen, that's not up to you to change it. It's not up to you to have that change. That's the law and setting you get into. You've gone into this with love and you want to change it. That sounds like an abusive partner, in my opinion. If you go into a relationship, doesn't matter what, with the intent to change the thing or person you have got into a relationship with, be it business, political, whatever, personal, you sound like an abusive partner. And it does get called out. It needs to be called out more. And when people go say, hey, we need more of this, it's like, no, you don't. You came into this hobby knowing this. You came into the hobby with this. And that's one thing I've seen with these other companies. There is so little that people go, oh, I don't like this bit. And no one really goes into their mind of what they want to change it. Because they go into it with the right intentions. Go into it with the love of the game and the setting. That's it for today. Hopefully I'll get a law video out today, but I'm really busy today. I do apologise. I will hopefully get my theory video out today. I've got a couple on the back burner, which kind of does need some touching up. And I'll see you all in the next one. If you wish to save money on your war games, go check Wayland Games down below. It's free delivery after £20. Great for Wild West Exodus stuff and War Cradle stuff. They're the biggest stockists of them, so check them out. There is also Forbidden Planet comics, merchandise, all that really cool geeky stuff. There's my merchandise, stickers, notebooks, bags. There's my comics. They're both down below now. Both of them. The Little Red Riding Hood is the second bottom one, which is really cool. It's one that I really enjoyed making. Again, all artwork and written by me. Skyforge, give that guy a click. I don't get paid for him. He's a good friend of mine. I really wish he gets some more support for his business. He's a good guy. And finally, Patreon, because business. Bye-bye.